Well, good morning and welcome to my YouTube channel. So this morning, things haven't quite went to plan. So I've driven 2.5 hours to get to a location, to walk up a forest woodland trail, to get to a ancient mystical location. And when I arrived there, they've shut off all the trails and all the car parks. So they've obviously had extreme weather and they're trying to repair all the bridges on the trails, etc. So I've driven halfway back along this road that I'm on, and I pulled into this national nature reserve called Glasdrum Wood. So I've picked up a leaflet because I am absolutely not prepared for any of this. But rather than waste the time, what I thought I'd do is we'll have a wee wander around this nature reserve. It's of scientific interest. I think most of the photography is now going to be woodland. So join me and let's see where this journey takes us this morning. Right, so as I've been walking around the path, the sun was out. I noticed this really old, kind of gnarly tree covered in moss. But what really caught my eye was all the ferns that are on the branches of the tree. Right, so what I'll try and do is, I'm going to try and get a composition where got these ferns that are growing on the branch of the tree with a composition where they're coming up for the bottom right of my viewfinder and then sweeping out. So I'm just looking at my settings here. There's a bit of a breeze, so I'm just going to up my shutter speed to 1/60th. Actually I might put it up to 200, which means I need to lower my f-stop. And I've got ISO 100, actually I had ISO 250, but the sun's now come out, so I'm going to have to adjust the ISO. Right, so the final settings are a 200th of a shutter speed, so that, and the reason I'm using a fast-ish shutter speed is that it's quite breezy, and what I want to try and do is freeze the ferns, so any movement with a slower shutter speed, the ferns would be blurry. I've got f4.5 because I want to try and get as much a shallow depth of field as possible, and ISO 160. Right, so let me just check. I'm just double checking that picture. Right, so the shutter speed's correct. Right, so I'm finished here. So why don't we move on and see if there are other photographic opportunities in this wood that we spontaneously just happened upon. Right, before I move on, I spotted there's a tree behind the tree where I was taking photographs of with the ferns on the branches. But if you look at the trunk and then the branch, it's actually framing a tree behind it. And what I'm doing, I'm just zooming in to get the trunk and the bottom of the branch in frame, but my focal point's that tree in the background. And the tree's absolutely, it's really, really nice. It's full of texture. So I'm hoping that the sun's going to come out and help us out a wee bit. What I might do is I'll take a test shot. We've got some light hitting that tree now, so I'll take that shot. That could be quite nice. I'll just give it another second or two so it really brightens it up. There we go. So because it's really brightening up, I'm just increasing my shutter speed. Right, so I've got a 1/2 of a shutter speed, I've got 4.5 f-stop, and I've got 125 ISO. Now it's getting really lit up, and I've dropped my ISO to 100. I'm just increasing my aperture to 5.6. Right, that's quite nice. I've got quite a dark frame here. Right, there's an old tree over here that if I'm quick, I could get some nice shadows on it. Just double check my focus, take that shot, and then I'll see if that's an image that we can use. So again, I'll do a quick exposure compensation, and I'll share that image with you when I've finished. Right, so what we'll do now is once this is finished, well, that's a nice image, we'll move on now and let's see what else is along the trail. Alright, so I've hit a fork in the road. So that sign says natural viewpoint. So why don't we head up and find a natural viewpoint, and let's see where this track takes us. Right, so I'm getting a leaflet out. What I'm really doing is getting a breather. I'm absolutely bushed. So there's a wee map here, and I'm still quite a wee bit. So there's two bridges. This is the first bridge on the trail, and it's called the Hanging Gardens of Glasdrum. So what I'll do is I'll stand on the bridge, I'll do a panoramic view, and you'll be able to see that viewpoint as I'm talking. Then after this bridge, I head for another bridge, and then that takes me on the trail towards this natural viewpoint. So let's see how this goes. Alright, so hopefully, and I was going to say that 70 metres is flat, but as I'm walking along the trail, it is going higher and higher. So I'll meet you at the top. Okay, so I've reached the viewpoint, and the viewpoint's not quite what I expected. However, what I do have is an absolute beautiful view of the mountains and the trees in front of me, and I've had to put my filters on because the sun's straight in front of the camera and it's far too bright. So I'm just hoping I've put a 1.2 ND grad filter on it, and I've got my polarizer on. I've got 160th of a second shutter speed. I've got f8 and ISO 100. In the back of the camera the sky looks a wee bit dark, but I need that because the sun is absolutely right in front of me. So what I'll do now is my exposure meter's reading correctly. So as I zoom out, I'm getting a sun flare on the top of my image. But before I compose this, what I'll do is I'll put footage up so you can see the view that I'm seeing, because in front of me I've got this forest. I've got a little seat or bench on the right hand side of me. There's a stream coming down from my right hand side, and that's snaking its way down the side of the mountain. I've got all these old, I don't know the species of the trees, but they look really, really old. The trees in front of me, because we're still coming out of winter and into early spring, there's still no leaves on the trees, and luckily all the ferns are dead, so that's good. It won't be long before they're back. But I'm lucky that I can see through the trees, and I can see the two mountains straight in front of me, And the way that the sun's shining, the shadows are hitting all the undulations on the mountain, and it looks absolutely beautiful. So what I'll do here is, I'm just going to set up a wider composition. I'm going to zoom out. I've still got that. I'm going to use the sun as a lens flare. I've upped my ISO to 125. I need to refocus because I did zoom out and I've changed my focal length. So I'm just going to adjust the polarizer. I'll take that shot. Right, so that could be a nice shot. So the ND Grad hopefully is doing its job. So I'm going to turn round to the left because there's a bigger tree in front of me. I'm going to zoom out a little bit because I want to give the tree some room and some space. So that could actually be quite a nice square crop. The other trees in the image though, and I've got a really dark cloud. So what I'll do is I'll just zoom in just to make sure I've got focus. I'll take my shot. So I'm ISO 250, f8 and a 60th of a second. And it's quite amazing. You're going to see in this image, I think, a massive contrast because there's a big black cloud on the left hand side, and then it looks like a kind of overexposed area, and then I've got blue sky. Right, so what I will do is I might take a couple of shots of some of the trees and the stream, and then I'll take a shot of the path, although I think I might be losing the light. I'll try and take a shot of the path because that looks quite hobbity over to that old tree, and I might do a vertical composition there. And then I'll share all these images with you now. Alright, so I'm back down to the normal trail. I've found the second bridge on the map. So let's wander across the bridge. Oh, a nice wee stream. Just let you see the view behind me. It's turned out really nice. So hopefully the forecast's late and the rain stays off for quite a while. So I'm just walking over the bridge. I'm actually looking as I'm talking. There's some nice wee shapes in the wood there on the roots of the trees with the moss. And as I'm talking, I've just lost the sun. And then over here, I've just spotted a wee waterfall. So what I'll do is I'll take a couple of shots here and then I'll show you those images if they turn out. Right, so I'm just taking shots here because as I've been walking up the trail, the moss has grown on the bottom of all the trees, and it makes the trees look as though they're wearing those big furry ski boots. So what I was trying to do is get the moss backlit by the sun, and here it comes again, and here it comes. So I'll just double check my focal point. So I'm trying to focus on getting the moss highlighted at the edges because I can lift the shadows in the centre. I've got 1/2 of a shutter speed. I've got f4.5 because I want a wee bit of shallow depth of field, and I've got ISO 160, and I've just done a bracket exposure there, and that could be really nice. Right, so I'll keep moving. And let's see what else we can find. As I was walking down the trail, I saw two wee waterfalls at the side of the path. So what I'll do is I'll turn round and I'll show you these waterfalls, and that's the second one. So what I'll do is I'll take a couple of shots of these waterfalls and then I'll start walking again. Well, I've stopped at a wee viewpoint called Looking to Europe, and I'm assuming it's called Looking to Europe because the beautiful view over Loch Creran. So I have another bridge to go, and by the looks of this map I've got the half a distance again, so this could be a wee while. Right, well, I'm going to stop here and have a wee coffee because I've been on the go since 5 this morning, and having initially had the disappointment of not getting to my original location, only because I've been researching it for about 2 weeks. Anyway, having said that, this is a beautiful location, complete and utter surprise. I'm really enjoying it, it's absolutely beautiful. This side of the trail seems to have small waterfalls and a little burn, and they're absolutely spectacular. I spent a good 10-15 minutes back there taking shots of those wee falls as well, and hopefully you'll have seen them by now. So I'm going to sit, have a coffee, enjoy my Canadian maple syrup breakfast bar because this is my breakfast. But one thing I want to show you is I kept losing my lens caps, and I asked my son Sam if he'd design and make me a lens cap holder that stuck onto my camera bag. So as you'll see, Sam 3D printed that for me, and it keeps my lens cap on my bag. So thanks very much to Sam, absolute genius. So I'm going to sit, take in the view, have my coffee, and I'll catch up with you back on the trail. Alright, so I'm kind of nearing the end of the trail, so if I get any more photographs I'll share them with you now. Thanks very much for watching, hope you enjoyed that. Completely spontaneous, was not planned at all, but you have to make the best of the situations you're in sometimes. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please do, because you know it's free. And if you press the bell notification, that'll let you know the next time I post a video. So thanks very much for watching, and here's to the next video.